It will establish the fate of Shadowlands and its characters.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hope so. Right, okay, let's get into this. It is impossible to talk about the story of Shadowlands without Sylvanas, Windrunner, Anduin Wrynn, and Zovaal the Jailer. That triad was core to the story we are telling. So, Anduin, a completely passive character, Zovaal, a character, the motivations of whom we've basically never understood, and Sylvanas, a character that has been sort of inconsistently written with a lot of her stuff in stuff that's not inside the video game, and Sylvanas, a character that has had almost no screen time in the game. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, guys, but if this was the core triad of your story, you didn't tell it in your game that much, really.
Apparently, the InVen Chinese interview confirms double legendary as well.
Double Legos confirmed. There we go. Okay, so the story first saw Anduin captured by Sylvanas after she left the Horde, then transformed into the Jailer's puppet, and then at the end of Chains, Sylvanas turned on the Jailer but was defeated. I mean, defeated. She never had a chance. It's like
defeated. Yeah,
you know.
She did the equivalent.
It's like the whole story is told by 15-second cinematic snippets.
Yeah, I mean, like, she did the equivalent of throw a toothpick in anger at him.
Yeah, so that's a bit odd. Anduin has replaced Sylvanas as the Jailer's right hand, accompanies him there. Anduin is in quite the predicament. Dealing with him is the only way that the players can hope to confront the Jailer, according to Day. After all, unless his domination magic can be countered, Zovaal could do the same against anyone who stands his way. Sylvanas is in a predicament of her own. Now that she is in the custody of the heroes, she'll be grilled for information. Okay, so some Sylvanas interrogations. She was the Jailer's right hand till recently. She knows much of his schemes, and getting this information will be the only way to stop him. However, Denuzor hinted at an unexpected character's role. The player's last saw Sylvanas had a portion of her soul returned to her body. Fate that was similar to Uther's. Because of this, Denuzor said that the Paladin turned Kyrian may prove integral in the story of Eternity's End. Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine so. So, in fact, Uther can serve as something as a guide for her through that process. Interesting. So.
That's interesting. I wasn't sure Uther was kind of done with after what was in 9.1, but I guess he is. I guess he actually is, Scar and all, actually complete now in some capacity. Even though he's still missing a bit of his soul, technically should be. So that's interesting.
The Ice Crown fragment from the dungeon that everyone's like forgotten about, seemingly.
Yeah, so it looks like they've fast forwarded through that and just kind of went, no, Uther is the guide, the mentor. Uther's the one who's been through the process, so now he'll be the one to help Sylvanas a little bit. Because, Uther created Arthas, technically speaking. He believes that, he feels that. So he'll end up helping Sylvanas because Sylvanas is ultimately a victim of Arthas.
Yeah.
And then obviously Anduin being the proto-Arthas, he can stop that process as well. Which will ultimately mean that, as opposed to Arthas showing up, this could just be the wrap to Uther and Arthas without Arthas making an appearance.
And
so strange.
That's what Steve says, that Uther understands the whole process, so he's probably going to help her out. Denuzor and Day are tight-lipped about the fates awaiting Anduin and Sylvanas. Anduin's a beloved hero, but considering he's in a vice grip, players can only hope he'll be saved. On the other hand, Sylvanas has much to answer for after the events of Battle for Azeroth. Eternity's End will reveal if Anduin will be the same if he ever survives the ordeal. Again, we've got a lot of flack from people over our two recent videos, one on Gan, one on Anduin. This is the shit that Blizzard's directly setting up. Will Anduin be the same? A lot of people, I think, kind of shat in that video. Not really. I mean, there's what people want to have happen in the story. What we're trying to cover there is what really is being hinted and set up, and Anduin might be different. Or what kind of punishment Sylvanas will receive for her sins. Hi, Priestess. Dronda was absent from the announcement. It's no surprise Tyrande and Sylvanas are on a collision course, as Denuzor calls it. He confirmed the High Priestess of Lune will appear in Eternity's End and will come face to face with a very different Sylvanas than the one she battled in Chains of Domination. I would say those two figures have a lot too. I don't know if resolve is the right word, because you can never, because can you ever resolve something that happens on the scale of an entire civilization being nearly wiped out?
You can at least try.
There's going to be some very heavy interaction between those two characters, and that is pivotal to the final conclusion of how Eternity's End and the Shadowlands saga wraps up. Well, I think that's just hinting at a loon coming into this.
Yes, of course. Of course, yeah, because the Shadowlands saga wraps up. Now we're moving into the next book of World of Warcraft, as they call it, which will be Elune and Anshe and all that stuff, likely.
Yep, and Cameron just cover some of the more mixed reactions to the narrative there. Moving on then. So with the stakes this high, it's impossible not to sense a finality. In the history of World of Warcraft expansion packs followed a release cycle that consists of 3 major content patches, which fill the 2-year gaps between expansions. With Eternity's End, it seems World of Warcraft's breaking that tradition. We set out to plan the Shadowlands story as this drama in 3 acts.
Yep. We had a beginning.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah.
I say to myself. I mean, I'm sure maybe they planned it that way, but come on, the narrative's been it's been pretty lame. Like,
yeah,
I think the narrative's the one thing most people seem to be a bit more united on, is like the more weak thing in this expansion.
It's the kind of thing where I think there's a lot of people who can enjoy World of Warcraft gameplay for what it is, despite having to jump through a few too many hoops this expansion. I think people are happy to still engage with the parts they really like, be that M+, be that Mythic rating, be that, just dabbling, or be a PvP. But for narrative, I think there's so few people who are still okay with it all. I mean, that was sort of the case at the end of BFA. And I feel like they've made that worse going forward.
Yeah.
Especially there was someone in chat saying earlier that, they bought Shadowlands for Arthas. So
Whoa, that was a mistake.
That was brave, of course, but it's the idea of if you're expecting that from everything we've seen and everything they've kind of hinted at, then that's just not going to be the case. And I think there'll be so few people left after this interested in the narrative unless they do a great job of setting up the next book in the saga. But
yeah,
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, this it does feel like a Destiny zone to me more than a Warcraft one, but we'll continue.
Yeah.
We've intended for Eternity's End to be the culmination of that story. I mean, the thing I'd say there is, I guess at some point during the development of Shadowlands during COVID, they probably just realized they couldn't fit 3 patches in.
Yeah.
Or maybe they realized that, with patch 8.3, they have to do so much asset reuse and stuff to make it happen that they'd rather just do 2 patches. But, I mean, let's be real, 9.1 was shit. Corthia and stuff, whatever. I'm sorry, it's small. There's not that much there. There's not much to it. It's not that good. Yeah. There's lots of great bits that individual developers have worked on. It's just they don't come together that well. So, I mean, just getting Corthia, and we'll just have to see. This will really have to be a fucking awesome zone. Now, if they can get that whole Cypher thing to be great and to make the zone progression feel really exciting, then that could totally... that could totally play in their favor. I just think narratively they're, and from what I understand, even in the team, this whole narrative is actually quite not everyone's super on board. Yep. So, I mean, Ian it's interesting, that VentureBeat article, maybe this is one of the beats they wanted to get out. In the VentureBeat article, Ian said that they know that not everyone likes this style of thing. Yeah. And that they will be, going a bit more grounded Azeroth, and maybe they're considering a TikTok between them. So it would be, I guess, not super fair to expect them to instantly have this be grounded.
Yeah, of course.
But I wonder if they had Ian say that, or if that's one of the things he really wanted to communicate to players via that interview, because, he kind of knows, well, this is the thing we're doing, and I actually know, maybe 40% of our people aren't a big fan.
Yeah, and
just want to get the word out in advance.
Yeah, but also he can't say it up front. He can't just say, "Don't worry, boys. Next expansion, we're going back to Azeroth." He can't say that as much as he's probably burning to in the inside, just to try and stop people from going, "Well, I don't want to do this shit anymore." So that's I guess that's everything I'm getting here. They went super hard on the Zereth Mortive stuff, and then looked like, okay, well, you know who the first ones are relatively. You've seen what their work is, the culmination of their work, and you've sort of put a big pause on it. Back to your regular business, back to the regularly scheduled programming, hopefully.
Yeah, so also he said that there may be more content to come, but the 9.2 is the grand finale. So maybe there'll be a 9.2.5. Hopefully there will be, because I think an epilogue patch would be a great idea.
Definitely need one.
So, That means there is plenty of speculation as to what will come next for World of Warcraft. With the high concept nature of Shadowlands, many are eager to get back to the more grounded concepts of Azeroth, though others hope to see continued escalation of the epic cosmic themes World of Warcraft has been ramping up over the last several X-Packs. Denuser doesn't see this as a binary choice. He claims there is room for sweeping cosmic narratives and small personal stories alike. Don't assume it's just going to be one thing. There's storylines building up for the next great book in the Warcraft saga. Some of that groundwork is laid here. There's a lot more in Azeroth we need to get back to and delve into some storylines and characters there.
Yep.
So you got Lordaeron, you got Dragon Isles, you've got the Titan facilities that have been teased, but we don't know where they are. There's fair few.
You've got the Gilneans, you've got you've got the Night Elves, you've got Stormwind. There's so many things that need actually dealt with that are very, very small. So hopefully they do spend the time doing that.
Yeah, so Morgan Day then chimed in saying, there are tons of opportunities to find lots of things we feel can translate in a very understandable way that also has exciting gameplay attached to it while the cosmic story is taking place. While admits that sometimes the literal scale of things gets pretty wild, he recognized players want to see the small things that flesh out the world as well. It may seem impossible for World of Warcraft to downscale after fighting titans, gods, and giant dragons. Denuser and Day seem confident they delivered a balanced experience in Eternity's End and will continue to do so in the future. And that's that.
From Slack, I'm not sure where he got it from, but he did say, with the Sepulchre raid, we're doing something unique when it comes to accessing the encounter, viewing it from the story aspect. Anduin will be the end boss of the first week of the raid launching, and that comes with a lot of interesting story elements as to why that's the case. We get to explore how he gets dominated and how we don't get dominated ourselves. For example, the following week, when Mythic would normally come out, is when the back half of the raid releases, with the Jailer as the final boss to stop him from rewriting reality, as it were.
Okay, you know what? If you can, think about Crystal Tower.
Yeah.
Or think about Coils of Bahamut, or, Bahamut in FF. The way that they could split the raid up and then have story between the segments of the raid, that really helped them with storytelling. So actually, I'm very happy to hear the Warcraft team's doing that.
Yep, that's good.
That actually meets a bunch of my criticisms of Sanctum of Domination storytelling as well. So,
yeah,
thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up, WoW team. That's I think that's a really good way to structure things. I know there's some people just want to turbo through it super quick, but I think that splitting the raid up and then actually weaving the narrative properly. It's like if you want to have a story, you have to tell your story. You can't just say gameplay first and relegate the story to hints here and there that people don't understand. You just have to be bold and tell it.
Yep.
So that's very interesting.
Also, the one thing I would like to highlight is how much of nothing else was said in that. There's no new renown. No, none of those things seem to be coming along, which just leaves us in this nice, comfy place of play the patch, not whatever else has come past. Which, we don't want to just play the patch. We do want to play the expansion. We do want to play the whole game, but not if it's a barrier to playing as opposed to anything else. So that's a good thing. I'm just waiting on Dakor to tell me where he got that from. That's what it looks like.
Yo!
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Very, very interesting.
The first one's made the Naru. Elune's the first one. It's interesting. Thinking about their overall design stuff is really interesting because we're talking about it being very Destiny-like in loads of ways, and to me that screams modern in a way, where there's a lot of the cultural consciousness towards moving. Obviously those big floating orbs pouring sand out of them feels very modern, feels Destiny-ish. But then you look at all of the little creature design, and it's very much it reminds me of playing Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Where a lot of the modern cutesy design is these little floating spirit energy things. It reminds me of Ori, as an example. All of those things are really interesting that they're moving in a very, very clear way, but it's a bit...
Gamer Braves have an interview. Also, Samaya here, good catch, talking about what Zereth Mortis is. These are all test beds for what we'll eventually see elsewhere. Yeah. So, it just makes you wonder time.
Yes.
Life. Right? All of that. And will we be seeing some of those places in future X-Packs?